Hey guys, welcome back. We're now in week 12. If you haven't seen our week 12 update video, I just posted that one. Do refer to that video. If you're new to the channel, this is my 12th week in the reefing hobby. This is my first ever saltwater aquarium. This is what she currently looks like. At any rate, guys, if you're new to the community, welcome. And if you have been following along, I want to thank everyone again for all their help and all the comments and helpful feedback. In this video, I just want to talk a little bit about aquascaping, right? And different, I guess, different options when we think of our aquascape, right? I think, previously I had posted a video initially when I started the tank on the rock structure. And the reason that we set it up in the way that we did. I actually had my 8-year-old son help me lay out the rock work. And it was a lot of fun doing so, of course, right? I mean, right now we're starting to see some maturation in the tank, and, we're starting to see some algae growth. I did just do a water change. So right now things are a little bit unsettled. I mean, we can tell here by the mushrooms seem to be popped up. I'm not sure if the pistol shrimp is buzzing around behind there. It looks like some of the sand has actually shifted from back there, so I'll have to use some aquascaping tools to move some of the sand back. Now, I think one of the things I kind of wanted to point out, or at least ask our community members, those of you guys that are more experienced, when I set up this tank, I actually went to PetSmart and I bought the purple rock formation, and those are carob life sea rocks. They're not actually from the ocean, right? I'm not sure how they're manufactured or how where they even really come from, but they're not from the ocean, right? From the ocean I got, or from the local fish store, were these branches. And the branches, I think the biggest thing that I noticed when I had a lot of hermit crabs in here, initially I had 6, I don't know where they've all gone, but I think the pistol might have got a few and pulled their shells in, because sometimes I'd hear the clicking. But anyways, it looks like somewhere around here. But anyways, you see the hermit crabs seem to go for them. So when I first started the tank, I had those branches in. I noticed they're feeding on something. There's something different about those rocks, right? So the question I had for our more experienced folks, and even some of the newer reefers, what kind of rocks did you decide to get, right? Did you go with full actual rocks from the ocean that you got at your local fish store? My understanding is that has certain advantages. It can help cycle your tank and obviously introduce beneficial bacteria. So that's a great thing, right? But, I think when you're setting up an aquarium, whether you're new to the hobby or experienced, I think like one thing that you want to consider is, how big your tank is and the rock volume in the tank, right? Obviously, if you have a lot of rocks and small water volume, again, you have to think, right? This is a 13.5-gallon tank. I got a couple of pounds of rock. It's just less water in the tank. Now that I think about it, like one of the things I don't know how I would have done it, but I've seen rocks that almost like float out from the middle. So it creates that illusion. You have like, things are able to swim under it. In our vision, when we set it up, we wanted a cave system. So I think it's worked out quite well. What do you guys think? I mean, let me know what you think of our rock work and our choice to kind of set it up this way. I think it gives the tank a few different perspectives to be able to, view it from different angles, right? One other question I had for you guys is, when you do set up an aquarium and its rock work, do you glue the rocks into place? Or will you actually leave them unglued so that you can set up and change the look every once in a while? So for us, we've been up 2 months. We have not touched the rock work. Nothing is glued down. Very easy for us to move it. And naturally, I think as the pistol shrimp does his work, the rock work is shifting. At first, I was concerned that it could smash into the glass, but to be honest, it looks like it's settled quite nicely. Now, yeah, I mean, one thing I'm curious, right? Do you guys always build out a cave? Like, does that really depend more or less what's in your tank? right? Like, do you give your, like with the goby, I think it's cool because it gives them somewhere to hide. And especially if it's paired with a pistol, I think it's a great thing. So I've also seen that Carib Sea has rock work. It's a little bit more money, but it starts between like $60 to $100, maybe sometimes a little bit more. And it's like a pre-built arch. Does anyone have that? Right? I think if I had a wider tank, like a Fluval 32.5, like it'd be cool because you could go out and get, let's say, 2 boxes of these Carib Seas and have a nice horizontal rock structure, which I think would be amazing. So, one of the questions I think I did some research on, right, and I just asked, like, how many of you guys move your rocks around? My understanding is we shouldn't be moving them around because it stresses the fish out, and it also releases something called detritus, which can essentially destabilize bacteria. So that would be bad. We want stable systems, guys, especially if we're new. Stable is great. Slow and steady is great. Yeah, I think probably a larger system, you could probably get away with it more, taking rocks in and out. Sometimes I've seen on Facebook Marketplace, a lot of folks selling different types of dry rock, and some of it looks pretty cool, right? And I remember when I was in the freshwater hobby, I used to like branches and plants, but now that I'm in this hobby, freshwater's out the window. So it's really more around like, how can I keep this tank looking clean, natural? What else can I add to it? If you guys, I know some folks were saying, like, take a look at a Duncan. I haven't been able to find one. I've been going to my aquarium shop and they keep telling me, sorry, it's just not something that really people are really interested in. Not the prettiest coral is what I was told, but I like the look. To be honest, also one of the things I read online was that in the beginning, when you set up your tank, that you can move your rock work, usually within the first 4 to 8 weeks. Okay. So I don't know if that's true. Does that seem reasonable, guys? I don't know. Also, another thing too is if you're mounting coral on the rocks, because of, like, let's say the water flow, right? Because like in this case, I have the water flow hitting this rock, right? If I start moving the rock structure, I need to start thinking about, how is it going to impact the other coral that I have in the tank, right? I mean, our coral here on our rack seem to be doing all right on their own, which is amazing, guys. Thanks so much for that recommendation. So it looks like, in the beginning, yeah, you can do it. The green light for that would be, it's the early stages of the tank. It's okay to make some minor tweaks. But if it's stabilized and mature, and I don't know, guys, is a tank stable at 12 weeks? To be safe, I'm not going to move anything around. I still think it looks pretty good, but I'm sure there's some tanks out there, guys. I don't know if there's a way to clip your images and post them in. It'd be interesting to see what you guys have. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, that was just kind of the idea that I had in mind was, like, how often do folks actually rescape, right? Like what's, like, do you run a system for like 12 months and then like look to change the look of it? Or is like setting up a rock work more or less for new tanks only? I just wasn't sure, what kind of the best practice is for that. Again, for me, it's more around like just maintaining stability. One question I also had for the community was more around dry rocks, right? And I've read that dry rocks are good because they don't have as many pests. And secondly, I understand that they're easier to glue together. So that's kind of like that whitish rock. And apparently it's just easier to kind of work with to help structure. But again, the downside, it sounds like it needs time to be biologically mature, right? So as I said, from my experience, I think it's been great because I had a combination of rocks that, weren't from the ocean, the purple ones, and then our branches, right? And if I had more space, I definitely look at more rock work. And you know, from a wish list perspective, guys, if I could do it, I'd buy a Carib Sea arch, and I think that'd be a pretty cool thing. Now, if I could get away with a little bit of a larger tank, and maybe this is something for the future. Right now, I'm still a complete newbie. Things are going all right, 12 weeks into the hobby. But yeah, you know, maybe in the future I'll get a bigger tank. Right now I'm still adding to this tank and starting to think about preparing for, you know, my first trip away from home and not being able to take care of our fish and coral. So again, giving some thoughts to that, but I just want to thank everybody for their contributions and their meaningful feedback, but also contributing to the community. I've had some comments that have been very, very nice. I had somebody write, you know, that they had actually are watching this channel more frequently than some of the larger reefing channels, and you know, they had commented that they appreciated the community and everyone's willingness to help, especially folks that are experienced, right? Because the reality is there's a couple ways to learn, right? We can learn by doing our research, but I've always found it easier to learn from others. That's just kind of how I've gone about it. It's like, you know, I don't want to rush into things when I don't know what I'm doing, because that can cause problems. But the whole point of this community is to help each other learn, right? So I think somebody commented that they'd been in the reefing community for 20 plus years and they're still learning. There's still things to learn. So as I said, I'm by no means an expert in any of this stuff. I think I'm just looking for opportunities to learn. And if I'm able to help those of you guys that are new, I'm happy to do so, or at least provide that community that can provide some guidance. So I would encourage you guys, if you're new, take a look at some of the comments that are being left behind. I think they're super helpful. And again, I just want to thank everybody for watching. And if you're not subscribed, do consider subscribing, as it's going to help our channel growth. Again, thanks so much, and on to the next one. Have a great day.